It's time to share all about Uranus and how Uranus loves to awaken and up level so that you can break through and liberate.
Welcome to Star Powered Astrology for Changemakers. I'm Leslie Tagorda, your guide, a Hawaii-born Filipino Jewish astrologer who loves navigating visionaries like you through the spiritual journey of your work so that you can be inspired to lead by your chart and become the luminary leader you were born to be.
Hey, Luminary, Leslie Tagorda here again with another episode in my Planetary Process series exploring Uranus. Uranus, one of our slow-moving generational planets, rules the process to awaken or breakthrough, meaning that awakening part to really up level and to liberate, and that idea of breakthrough, this like those glass ceilings that we or society put on top of us. Whenever you have a Uranus transit, there is revolutionizing, there is a liberation in all forms of your self expression and change, disruptive change, where you can never go back to the way things were. So, Uranus is absolutely on my mind today. So, in this episode, I'm going to be talking a little bit about our Uranus retrograde. Currently, as I'm recording this on August 29th, Uranus just shifted gears. It's actually 2023, August 29th, 2023. Uranus just shifted gears at that 23 degrees of Taurus mark to head in reverse. And we've been feeling that pressure point, all of us, and especially if you have natal energies around 22, 23 degrees of Taurus, woof, you've been feeling that jolt of Uranus. So today I wanted to talk a little bit first about this Uranus retrograde and the next 6 months for those of us living in 2023. And then we'll dive into all about the Uranus process. The information I'll be sharing from you is a preview of my intensive called Celestial Cycles. And Celestial Cycles is a 4-week intensive training on how you can use the bigger planetary cycles and medicine in your change making work. So you absolutely know what season and cycle you're in. So you're working with the flow instead of against it. Celestial Cycles lives in my astrology library in Star Powered Circle. So if you're interested in celestial cycles, it's there for you. Get on the wait list for Star Powered Circle. At least in 2023, Star Powered Circle will open up for the last and final time coming up at the end of September, right around equinox. So if this interests you, head on over to starpowered.com/circle. All right, so let's talk about this 2023 Uranus retrograde. I've been calling this, or just all these Uranian retrogrades that we get once a year in Taurus, as reformation of sustainable progress. Last year, when the nodes changed into Taurus and Scorpio, I was talking about this kind of idea of rematriation, because, of course, Taurus is that energy of our earth, of sustainability, of the environment, of the land, the fertile land that provides for us, that protects us and gives us security, as long as we are able to also protect the land. Now, with all of these climate changes and all of these climate disasters happening, this is our wake up call, our awakening call, thanks to Uranus, to say, like, hey, this is kind of our last chance, people. What are we going to do to take care of Mother Earth? So on the 28th, I'm recording this on the 29th. So yesterday on the 28th, Uranus shifted gears at that 23-degree mark to go into reverse. I've been loving looking at the planetary roles, and when they're in reverse with that little RX as our planetary medicine, that we're here to recalibrate those roles. So if Uranus's role is to awaken and change and revolutionize, when it's in retrograde, it's about how are we recalibrating that change? Has the change been working for us? Has the change not been working for us? Is this change sustainable? Is it actually making reform in our earthly Taurian realms? Well, we get until January 27th, 2024 for Uranus to complete its retrograde cycle. And because Uranus is so far out there that Uranus retrograde, we will be feeling it specifically on a personal level on those days that Uranus stations. So, almost the entire month of August, and the few weeks of September, early September, Uranus is going to be stuck on that 23, 22-degree mark. And then all the way back at the end of the year, beginning of 2024, when Uranus stops to go direct again. Now, if you also have any planets or angles, especially sun, moon, rising, or a stellium, or if you have your rising, your midheaven, your IC, or your descendant, if you have anything right around Taurus between 19 and 23 degrees, you have definitely been feeling this awakening. Right. I love that, Uranus is, and I'll be sharing this when I talk about the celestial cycles, but Uranus is one of the big players in our midlife awakening, getting rid of the language around midlife crises when we're about between 38 and 44 and we get our Uranus opposition, our life changes for the better. We have so much power at our disposal. And that's why you need that Uranus, because Uranus, whatever it touches, it shocks it. It gives it this kind of like, whoa, what just happened? And it allows it to disintegrate and liberate, therefore causing that kind of up level. Sometimes if we're not like kind of shocked into kind of realization or awakening, we're going to just like go along in our zombie like or just like our unconscious modes of operation where we're just repeating the same thing trapped in a cycle over and over and over again. So that's why we need these Uranian wake ups. So definitely check your chart, see if you have anything between 23 degrees and 19 degrees of Taurus, even across the way in Scorpio, even those Leo, Aquarius, those fixed modalities. If you have any planets or angles in these areas, you're definitely feeling this. So generally when I talk about a planet that kind of stations at one point before it shifts gear, and especially a slow moving like Uranus, a planet like Uranus, it's exactly like an acupuncturist. Like when you go to if you've ever been to an acupuncturist and you're like, I haven't been really feeling my energy very well. I've been feeling kind of sluggish. I have a little pain in my left hip. And then they find that little sweet spot where they just like poke this teeny tiny little needle into one of these pressure points. You feel like this literal zap of electricity, and then all of a sudden this like web of electricity like flowing through your body. That's exactly what Uranus is doing in the sky for all of us. And the stronger that zap is, if you have any natal planets between that 19 and 23 degrees of Taurus or any of those other fixed modalities. Now, I know that there's a ton of you because for whatever reason, I'm definitely called to work with people that have Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Leo that have those later degrees, because I would say 50% of my clients have Uranus hanging out on their midheaven, hanging out on their sun, hanging out on their rising sign, hanging out on one of their angles. And oh my goodness, it's beautiful to watch all of my clients go through this massive up leveling. Now, because it's a little bit of a shock, right? This change shocks us out of kind of like just like the unconscious cycle that we're in. I'm not going to say that like a Uranus transit is very, especially a retrograde, is very comfortable. Just like when you're sitting on the acupuncturist chair and they get your sweet spot and you like zap out of things, right? But you know that after that zap, you're feeling amazing. You have energy, you can walk in alignment again. Everything is just like really flowing. That electrical circuitry and that nervous system circuitry that Uranus does rule is now working in alignment. And that's what we all get to have during these Uranian retrogrades. And so I want you to start to notice, especially over the next couple of weeks, if you have Uranus sitting on one of your natal energies, and even if you don't, notice what you need to revise and reawaken in terms of your Taurian themes. This could be your physical resources like your money or the type of food or the type of shelter, your type of environment. And also on a personal level, what this feels like in your body. Where do you need some awakening? And then, of course, in society, in your communities, please, this is our call to do more than ever as we are at critical mass with climate and environmental issues. We all need to wake up and do our parts, right? I know individually it's I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a little bit. Individually, there's just like so much we can do in terms of saving water and really being conscious of our buying power. Where are we choosing to spend our money in terms of like, are we buying food that is grown ethically and grown by farmers, or are we still contributing to like big agriculture? Are we buying homes that have been built in newly developed land where they clear cut forests? Please don't do that. Okay. Please don't do that. Know exactly where you're spending all of your money and putting it to where your environmental values lay. Okay. And if you're taking that extra step, notice where in your communities you can even give back to the land. So we all can do better at up leveling and awakening in our personal lives, in our business lives, and in our communities with this Uranus retrograde. All right, my friends. So I want to leave you with these excerpts from my premium content, Celestial Cycles, where we're going to be talking about everything Uranus. I'll be talking about Uranus's planetary processes and a little bit about Uranus's transits to your natal energies. As we move further out into the solar system, the next planet we reach is Uranus. And Uranus's primary role is to awaken. Uranus is the co-ruler, the modern ruler of Aquarius, and it takes 84 years to orbit the sun, spending about 7 years in each sign. Now, the deity, the mythology of Uranus is he is the father sky, the god of all heavens. And that's why when we think about what Uranus rules over things like space and technology and just our ability to fly with planes and technology. Now, Uranus was discovered in March 1781. And up to then, we can actually see all of the planets up to Saturn with the naked eye. And so humans have been tracking all of those planets up to Saturn for who knows how long. But Uranus was the first planet that we needed to discover using a telescope just out of reach. And this is where things get pretty interesting, at least to me. And so we have astronomers and astrologers. Astronomers are the people that, look at the science and the physics and they want to understand how things work and the mechanics. And for the most part, astronomers do not believe in the symbolism and the meaning that astrologers believe in. Now, back in Hellenistic times and prehistoric times and ancient times, astronomers and astrologers were one on this and the same. But something started happening right after Copernicus's discovery that the sun was in the center of the universe, that things started to shift. Maybe this was religion coming into play and not wanting people to put power into the deities of the stars and instead putting power into a singular person like a priest or a bishop as the voice to God. Who knows when that real separation between science and facts versus the spirituality and the meaning and the symbolism that separated both astronomy and astrology. But the interesting thing is that When astronomers, the people who study the heavens without adding the meanings of the planets, they are the people that add the names to these planetary bodies or these heavenly bodies, these celestial cosmic bodies. And I always find it super interesting. And other astrologers have kind of created a hypothesis about why these astronomers who don't care anything about mythology or the meaning or anything like that add these kinds of archetypal mythical names to these different planets. In 1781, we had so many revolutions happening, from the American Revolution to the Spanish Revolution, the French Revolution, just all these different cultures and societies going through these huge uplevelings and changes, going away from monarchies and imperialist royalties into more democratic societies. Now, of course, not everybody went through full circle with that, but there was a ton of different advances on the social front with revolutions. And after the discovery of Uranus, humans started taking to the sky with technology. In 1783, the first parachute, also the first hot air balloon, and hydrogen balloons. There was so much technology that were moving people even faster around the world and above the world. Super, super fascinating. And so this idea of the Father Sky, God of Heavens, as we awaken and revolutionize our society, as we tap into greater achievements in technology, especially with transportation, it's really interesting to see how the symbolism of a planet and a naming of a planet by this mythology. There are astrologers that say that our human consciousness is ready for the arrival of this kind of archetypal energy. And so we're going to see this as we unveil and introduce these other outer planets, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron, and how their archetypal energies and consciousness really came into our human history and sphere at the opening of their discovery and their naming. So back to Uranus. Of course, Uranus's process is to awaken, to shock, to take quantum leaps forward and to revolutionize. On the inner heroine's journey, to bring awareness and acceptance and healing to being able to make change, to break free, to feeling like a rebel without feeling like a misfit, to being a rebel with a cause instead of a rebel without a cause, to really being open to differences and awakening and appreciating shakeups and learning how to deal with kinds of these ideas of shock and turning them more into this idea of fascination and awe. And in our outer roles, in our leadership, to bring Uranus into our lives and our work through our highest expression of, is really initiating different kinds of breakthroughs, not just in our inner lives, but in our outer lives, to continuously innovate and see things from a very different kind of perspective, to revolutionize, which sometimes to revolutionize is to bring back something that was ancient, but to use it in a new way, to harness technology. Again, there's so many different types of technology. Do not get stuck on technology as just your devices and things like, and the different software and hardware that you run. But technology, from herbal technology to spiritual technology, just all the different transmissions that are coming through that are high tech. Of course, Uranus represents electricity and our ability to take quantum leaps, to inspire with awe and fascination. So we all need a little bit of Uranus, and you have Uranus somewhere in your chart to spark change. Let's now take a look at Uranus transits, where Uranus cycles are all about awakening. Now, Uranus, you already know, to awaken, to break through, to revolutionize, remembering that a revolution sometimes is coming back to an old way with a new perspective. It's about innovating, it's about upgrading and taking those quantum leaps. Now, Uranus transits are very, very meaningful in our lives because it allows us to confront and revolutionize your need for freedom of self expression and change without looking back. Uranus is always asking us, what needs a breakthrough? What needs a shakeup? What surprises do I desire? And what freedom do I need from rigidity? And Uranus, as it transits through a house or transits a natal planet, is asking you, what areas of your life do you need these breakthroughs? With Uranus going through a house, and what planetary processes need up levels and evolution. Now, Uranus has one of the most important life cycles in our midlife, which is called the Uranus opposition. And the Uranus opposition is a significant life cycle that happens sometime between 38 and 44. And so, because Uranus takes 84 years to go around the zodiac, meaning you can have a Uranus return at 84. We don't hear too much about, octogenarians having huge success. Of course, there are many octogenarians who have success, but it's not really a return that we've put much focus into. Instead, the most important Uranus life cycle is that Uranus opposite Uranus, where Uranus sits across its natal position on your natal chart between the ages of 38 and 44. If you're currently in this cycle or have passed this cycle, you know what an upheaval it has been. But the Uranus awakening cycle is so important because this is a time where we are actually re-energizing our bodies for the next half of our lives, because this is the significant midlife cycle. Now, you could call it a midlife crisis, or you can reframe it and call it a midlife awakening, because this is a time where you feel that you need to break free from all of the conformity, from all of the boxes, everything that you've built around that your life that you just do not want to take with you. For most women or cis females, we think about the Uranus opposition as really opening up our throat chakra and our voice. And for men, the Uranus opposition is enabling men to really open up their heart chakra so that they can feel with more sensitivity. Now, you've all heard about those midlife crisis cycles, and oftentimes these are people, of course, who are resisting something in their Uranian processes, or really operating from a shadow level. So like classic things are like, people like leave their significant others and find a much younger partner, or they buy a race car, all your like total stereotypical things. But really, that is not a mindful or a conscious way of really harnessing the power of a Uranus opposition. Because when we consciously choose that Uranus opposition, we culminate everything that we have learned in our experiences, and we are here to birth something new, to awaken and innovate something new. Some of you might have known that my integration from just branding and design and integrating astrology happened at exactly during my Uranus opposition. And I am so glad to have had the tools to be able to navigate that and know what that meant for me. For those of us going through this Uranus opposition or have passed it, you will know that after this Uranus opposition, that innate power that sits within you sits so close to the surface. There's no confusion as to what you're here to do, what your superpowers are, and what you're here to radiate. It is such a beautiful transit. Now, a Uranus opposite Uranus, similar to that Saturn opposite Saturn, is going to highlight the house that your natal Uranus is in, and the house where transiting Uranus sits opposite. activating one of those house axes again. There's a bunch of Uranus opposition reflection questions in the worksheet that I borrowed from a previous course called Uranus, Chiron and Midlife Awakening. So if you're in that area of life right now, definitely check out those questions in the worksheet. Now, remember, look to the astrological house axes, the opposition, so that you can get your personalized themes and make a better sense of exactly what you're going through if you are going through this Uranus opposition. So let's take a look at transiting Uranus, knowing that Uranus takes 84 years to go through the natal chart. It spends about 7 years in each of your houses. And when it transits a natal planet, it can also take about 1 to 2 years to do its full transformation and shakeup. So first, Uranus through the houses. So first, Uranus in the first house as it crosses your ascendant. Christina shared that she is going through this Uranus on the ascendant and just the radical changes to herself, her leadership, her identity, her initiative, her breaking through the glass ceiling to up level you. So do not be afraid again of these Uranian kind of surprises. Remember to take them with a whole dose of woohoo instead of whoa. And so Uranus, as it moves through the first house, allows you to radically change yourself. As Uranus moves through the second house, you'll see radical changes to your finances, your worthiness, your values, breaking through the glass ceiling to elevate your worthiness, your values, and perhaps your bottom line. Uranus, as it moves to the third house, shows us radical changes to your mindset, your inner dialogue, your voice, as well as your neighborhood routines, breaking through the glass ceiling to your ability to communicate your needs. As Uranus crosses over the IC at the bottom of your chart, it moves into that fourth house where you're going to see radical changes to your emotional safety, your innermost private life, and family dynamics, breaking through the glass ceiling to intergenerational advancements and inner security. Next, Uranus moves into the fifth house, where now we'll see radical changes to your ability to seek out passion, play, pleasure, and creativity, breaking through the glass ceiling to heal your ability to receive joy and attend to your inner child. While Uranus is in the sixth house, we're going to see massive changes to your daily practices and your routines so that you can break through the glass ceiling of how to break free from obligations from higher ups so that you can attend to your wellness and your wholeness. As Uranus now moves, it's going to cross over up into the seventh house by crossing over the descendant. Again, Uranus having done all of its inner work on the inner part of your lives, now showing up into the outward part of your lives. As Uranus transits your seventh house, you can expect radical changes to your relationships and understanding of power in relationships, partnerships, and collaborations so that you can break through the glass ceiling of how you collaborate and relate to others. Expect lots of shakeups in your relationships. Uranus in the eighth house, well, time for radical changes in your ability to transform and being free of old paradigms, surprises in shared resources and joint money too, breaking through the glass ceiling to your relationship to life and death, as well as your trust with others. Uranus in the ninth house, radical changes to your beliefs, purpose, and vision, even your morality, breaking through the glass ceiling to what you can truly envision and open your mind to. As Uranus leaves the ninth house, and if you get a midheaven crossing, Uranus will be entering your 10th house, where you can expect radical changes to your public and professional life to achieve expertise and inner authority, breaking through the glass ceiling to how you will leave your mark on this world. Then Uranus moves into the 11th house, where we now see radical changes and revolution for your hopes of your future, your social impact, and your soul communities, breaking through the glass ceiling to how you will contribute to society and achieve your dreams. When I mentioned my personal Uranus opposition, Uranus was crossing here in my 11th house. And I know that what I'm here to do at this time, what opened up for me was to create a revolution of astrology. And lastly, as Uranus travels through your 12th house, now you have radical changes to your innermost hidden self and past actions, breaking through the glass ceiling to allow for more ease, flow, and bliss in this lifetime, as well as seeing the true motivations in others. Now, because Uranus travels so slowly, some of us, if we don't make it to 84 years old, we're not going to have Uranus moving through all of these houses. Also, because Uranus takes so long, oftentimes it's not going to come back a second time. So there might be times in your life where you don't actually have Uranus transiting one of those places in your chart, but always knowing that by opposition, Uranus will still be doing its work in that in the opposite house, even if Uranus never makes it there. All right. Let's take a look at Uranus transiting one of your natal planets. Remembering that Uranus takes about 1 to 2 years to transit one of your natal planets. And not all of us will get conjunctions to a planet, knowing that conjunctions to our primary sun, moon, rising with Uranus are going to have the biggest shakeups, conjunctions, and as well as oppositions. Remember that the aspect between Uranus and your other planet that it is transiting will let you know the type of energetic transformation that is happening. Feel free to change these keywords in the formulas that I'm going to share with you so that they speak to you most, and try to get to an understanding of, now, what does this mean to you? How is it showing up in your life and work? So if you get to have a Uranus and Sun aspect, this is breakthrough plus creativity, which equals ingenuity. I love that. Now, Uranus and the Moon, breakthrough plus security equals emotional reform. Uranus and Mercury, breakthrough of expression equals insight. Uranus and Venus, breakthrough and connection equals new relationships. Uranus and Mars, breakthrough and activation equals volition. Uranus and Jupiter, breakthrough and expansion equals progress. Uranus and Saturn, breakthrough and focus equals dismantling. Uranus and Neptune, breakthrough and inspiration. I call this unity vision. And Uranus and Pluto, breakthrough and power is revolution. Uranus and Uranus, if you get to 84 and get to have a Uranus opposition. Now, these outer planets, going back to these outer planets, we're not going to always have some of these aspects. Okay, it's just not going to happen. If you want to know why, ask me later. That's going to take a whole nother hour to answer. But Uranus and Uranus, if you make it to 84, breakthrough and breakthrough, freedom to be whoever the fuck you want to be. Ooh, excuse my language. All right. So I hope you enjoyed exploring how it might feel when Uranus aspects one of your natal planets, because ultimately we're going to get to have at least 1 or 2 of these transits in our lives. And it'll be so amazing to understand what is being awakened and knowing that we're in that process. So we're not just kind of like caught off guard, right? So I hope you enjoyed exploring what Uranus and one of your natal energies means for you, and exploring whether it's happened recently or if it's happening soon, or maybe you're currently going through this upleveling. Hey, Luminary, I hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the planetary process and medicine of Uranus. I hope it's shown you all the ways you get to awaken, liberate, and revolutionize in your life, in your work, and in society. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing this with one of your business besties and writing me a rating and review on Apple Podcasts so that this episode can get shared with more people like you. As a human design projector, my energy shines more brightly because of people like you who share my work. If you enjoy this podcast and want to help build a movement of innovative astrology and leadership and spark the intuitive revolution, please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, or better yet, share this podcast with your change-making besties. We will all shine brighter together as we create the future we want to see.